The Ryan and Ryan Power Hour podcast on SportsTownChicago.com. Welcome back to Ryan and Ryan here on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
And yes, we talked about the Cubs in their first segment, and now we're going to transition into the MLB as things are really heating up. I think last time we had a show, I mean, things were a lot different as far as the wildcard races, especially the American League. If you look at the American League wildcard race right now, you have the Angels and Toronto are the two right now. It would be Toronto at Los Angeles for those games, and even they're pretty close. The Angels are 57-50. Toronto's 58-52. Toronto plays indoors. That has a little bit to do with it. They haven't had as many delays. And Baltimore sits a game and a half back. Texas is only 2.5 out. Minnesota fell behind Texas, and they're 3 out. Tampa Bay 3.5. So it's changed a little bit, for sure.
Yeah, it has, and apparently today's Mike Trout's birthday.
Oh,
and some of these
yeah, they hit a home run today. I'm sure.
some of these stats are like just gonna wow you. So at 24 years old, he has twice as many hits as Pete Rose had by his 24th birthday.
That's scary.
Trout has 689. Rose had only 311.
Wow.
He has more than twice as many home runs as Barry Bonds had.
Right.
Trout's got 100.
And he's doing it clean.
Yeah, Trout's got 130. Bonds has 59.
Although, yeah, well, and also the thing with Bonds is he wasn't taking steroids at the beginning of his career, I don't think. I think when he got traded to San Francisco, he started juicing. I don't think he was juicing in Pittsburgh.
No. I don't think he was in Pittsburgh. He's one of only 2 players to notch 100 homers and 100 stolen bases at the time of his 24th birthday.
Damn.
The other, Alex Rodriguez.
Another juicer.
Don't follow his example, Mike Trout.
No, I don't think he has to. No, I mean, he doesn't have to. He's a hybrid player. We all know it. I mean, even the All-Star games, who's the greatest player in the All-Star games? Mike Trout. So
that is the funny thing. He is the best guy in the All-Star games, too.
I mean, he leads off the game with a home run. It doesn't get much better than that for Angels fans, American League fans, and
the MVP
MLB fans.
2 years in a row.
MVP 2 years in a row. He's on track to at least be in contention for that again. I
Yeah.
mean, with Miguel Cabrera being injured a couple times this year, it's definitely been Trout, I think, in the American League.
Yep. Another big Trout stat. He has 449 career runs scored, which is 81 more than the all-time leader Ricky Henderson had at the time of his 24th birthday. He only had 368.
That's crazy, and it's not like the Angels have had great teams. I mean,
no, they don't really have a great
since he's
team.
been up, but the reason why they've been good is because of him. Besides that, the only firepower you have is Pujols, really.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, Calhoun's a pretty solid guy in the lineup, except that Josh Hamilton experiment miserably failed.
And that staff really, is
the staff. I mean,
Garrett
Richards is good. Weaver and Wilson are getting old.
Yeah,
Hector Santiago. I mean,
I think C.J. Wilson's out for the year, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and a bunch of players are pissed off at him. Apparently.
Yeah, I don't know. He should just stick to his car dealerships.
Yeah, I mean, Weaver's not getting younger. His fastball's only getting slower. Richards is pretty good. They'll get Skaggs back next year.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not a great team. It's pretty much, Trout or bust for them.
Heaney's been pretty good since they got him for Howie Kendrick. Yeah, I mean, Mike Trout is the best player in baseball, and there's really no denying that.
No, not at all. And I mean, he is the reason why the Angels have a half-game lead in the wild card race right now. And obviously the team under them, which we'll talk about now, is Toronto, as they acquired David Price a little before the trade deadline. And then right before the trade deadline, they they got Tulowitzki. So
you
put Tulo with Price, and you already have Bautista, Encarnacion, and Donaldson, who's probably the best out of those three.
Russell Martin is having a really nice season.
And they upgraded their staff with Price, obviously, and they got Marco Estrada back.
Dan Herron would have been an upgrade to that staff.
Dan Herron would have been an upgrade to that staff.
That just shows how bad it is.
The issue was, they had Estrada and Stroman down early. Stroman not coming back, but I think Estrada came back a short while ago, and he pitched well his last outing. They got him from Milwaukee in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, Drew Hutchinson is like in games that he starts, the Blue Jays, he's on pace, come close to setting a major league record for most best run support. In Hutchinson starts, keep in mind he's got a 5.50 ERA. The Blue Jays are averaging about 9.2 runs per game.
Right. And, they definitely have the best offense in baseball.
Yeah, that's per game, and that was before the Tulo trade that stat came out. And I remember the night of the Tulowitzki trade, Bryant hit the walk-off homer.
Yes, he did, and Tulowitzki was not in the game in the bottom of that inning.
Oh, he wasn't?
No, they took him out in the ninth inning. I think he had heard the news shortly after that.
I did not know. All I remember...
Yeah, he wasn't in the ninth inning.
Yeah, I go to MLB trade rumors, and then I'm looking to see if there's any Cub news. I hit the refresh by accident, and then I see breaking: Blue Jays trade for Troy Tulowitzki. That was it. I was like, what?
Right.
They trade for Tulo?
And there was talk about it for, 3 or 4 years. There was when are they going to trade Tulo? When are they going to trade Tulo? And they stuck with him. He had his nagging injuries. They stick with him. The Rockets continue to be bad. And now you trade him to a contender for sure. At least Tulo made them a contender. And he's already contributed in a huge way. He had a big home run a couple days ago.
I don't think they've lost a game that he's been in the lineup this year.
They're currently on a 5-game winning streak, so you might be right about that. And they're 8-2 in their last 10. I don't know if they've lost since Tulo's been there. You might be right. Another team to talk about is Texas. 4-game winning streak, 7-3 in their last 10. They're 1 game above 500. They're only 2.5 out. I think they can overtake Baltimore in a quick hurry here. They're only a game behind Baltimore, and Baltimore is a game and a half out of a wild card spot. So I think Texas could jump Baltimore, and I really think Toronto's going to make the playoffs. I think I think they'll be in the 1-game playoff for sure. I don't think they'll catch the Yankees, but that's not even out of the question yet either. They're only 3.5 out.
Right, and they could try to add, another starter in the waiver over the waivers, and I mean they did add a couple bullpen pieces. They did get LaTroy Hawkins in the Tulo deal, which might not.
Yeah, anything helps with the Toronto. Bullpen.
Which
really,
which Hawkins hasn't been terrible the past 2 years, and now getting out of Colorado, he might pitch a little better.
Right, and Texas, of course, got Cole Hamels, which was huge news as well. I think that no-hitter that you saw might have put it over the top for him to be traded to a contender. He gets traded to Texas, and, since he's been there, well, not since he's been there, but, he had a good start. It was a little rocky, but he had a pretty good start his last start. He should be pitching soon. I think he's probably due, unless he already pitched, which he might have, but he's definitely, a big key for them as they needed an upgraded staff, too. I think next year they'll have a much better staff once you get those guys like Holland back and some other people. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they'll be a pretty good team, and they just beat Houston. They swept Houston.
Yeah, that was unexpected, especially after Houston had that big sweep over the Angels.
Right.
And as you said, Texas is in one of the most interesting situations in baseball where they have a pretty good farm system. They've got a good MLB team that can't stay healthy. Some guys are getting old, and it's kind of like they could go either way with just trying to go on a full rebuild or try to contend.
Right, and that's sort of a good spot to be in, too, because, I know Adrian Beltre, will only be around for a few more years before he retires. but you still have Fielder. He'll still be around for a while. And, you sort of
he's
have
not
to,
going anywhere until that contract expires.
I mean, you sort of have to upgrade at third base soon. But, I mean, other than
that's
that...
why they have Joey Gallo, assuming that he can hit.
Joey Gallo. The outfield is young. It's very young, the outfield.
Yeah, Mazzara is probably going to take over in left field when he's ready, since Ryan Rua is hitting like 200.
And the staff, not terrible. And now you got Cole Hamels to sort of lead that staff. I mean, he's pretty old, but... he still can help.
Yeah,
anybody.
I mean, that Hamels deal was good for Texas. They shedded themselves of the Matt Harrison contract. They gave up some pretty solid prospects, except they were able to keep their top two. And the main guy in the deal was Jorge Alfaro, who's pretty far away from becoming Major League ready. He's a catcher, except his value is as a catcher. Like, if he were to have to move to first base or the outfield, he probably wouldn't be ranked as highly. Like, he'd be ranked a lot lower. And his defense at catcher has not improved the way that they would have expected.
Right. Taking a look at some of the other wild card teams, Minnesota is at 500. They're falling fast. Tampa Bay, a game under. Detroit, 2 games under. The White Sox, 4 games under. After that, it's not even close. It's really not even close with the White Sox or Detroit. But the AL Central really is a bad division this year, as we can see. It's pretty much Kansas City, 50 feet of crap, and then the rest of these teams.
Yeah. I mean, the AL Central, I mean, that's been an odd division because the Royals and Tigers are battling, and then Detroit fell
off, and they sold.
And White Sox fans thought they were making the playoffs because they were
on a 7-game winning streak.
Yeah, because
guess what? The Cubs just finished a 6-game winning streak.
Yeah, I mean, because with the White Sox, they were beating teams like Cleveland and the Red Sox. Like, come on.
4-game sweep in Cleveland, and then 3 straight in Boston.
Yeah.
I mean, those teams are worse than you.
Yeah, I mean, when the other 6-game win streak for the Cubs this year was the 4-game sweep of the Mets at Wrigley, and then taking the next 2 against the Pirates, which included beating Garrett Cole.
Of course, at that time he was the best pitcher in the National League. I mean, he still might be, but at that time he had the lowest ERA. I know that.
Yeah, him and Waka and Greinke were all like in the 140s, and I remember.
I think the Cubs have beaten them all, haven't they? I know the Cubs beat.
The Cubs have
Zach Greinke.
The Cubs, they. That's kind of a funny win for the Cubs because they won 1-0 in like 10 innings.
Right, and I think the Cubs maybe not have beaten Waka, but they've beaten St. Louis a couple times, and they've gotten to some good pitchers there too.
I think they did beat Waka at Wrigley.
Right. I thought they
or
beat
maybe
somebody.
He pitched the game that Strope blew. I don't know.
He might have, and I mean that game should have been won too. But
yeah, that game should have been won.
That game was 1 pitch away from being.
I don't know. One thing
3 out of 4 for the Cubs.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that. Pedro Strop, whenever he pitches against the Cardinals, he gives up runs.
Right, he was pretty good last night.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he's really good. I mean, he really has those bad games, except when he plays the Cardinals, it seems like he just doesn't pitch as well. Yeah,
I agree. As far as the National League's concerned, I mean, it's as you know, it's pretty much a 2-team race right now. I mean, Washington's hanging in there 3 games out, but Washington really has to have their sights set on the division, which I don't know if they'll ever catch the Mets because the Mets are on a roll 6-game winning streak, which is just unbelievable considering where they were just a week and a half ago. They're on a 6-game winning streak. Washington's falling fast, but Washington does have an easy schedule coming up. They just played Arizona, and now they're playing Colorado, so they're in a better situation. The Mets have to go at Tampa Bay, which isn't that difficult, but it's still kind of tough. Then, of course, Pirates, Cubs, and Giants. It's really between those teams right now. Everyone else is pretty much out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really. I mean, that National League Wildcard could get so interesting if Washington passes up the Mets, Because I mean, right
Yeah.
now, I want the Mets to win that division right now. Honestly,
Yeah, as a Cubs fan, I think it's better.
I mean, I feel
I think it's better for us if the Mets win that division.
I mean, could you imagine the uproar of Mets fans if they win the division?